Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the 20th episode of PTV FC, a little milestone episode here. I am your host for this episode, Ryan Johnston, and I'm joined by Louie Pasculli and Jimmy Bliss. How are you guys both doing today?
I'm doing great. We have a lot to talk about. We haven't really had an episode in too long, so this is going to be the good one. I know it.
Not gonna lie, Ryan, I've been better. I've had better weeks. That's all I'm gonna leave it at.
Pain. Immense pain.
I do
Sorry,
know your
Jimmy.
pain, Jimmy, but let's talk about your pain a little bit. Manchester United. I'm absolutely cheesing right now with this result. 5-0 loss against Liverpool. Jimmy, I don't need to say any more than that. Take the floor. It's all yours.
So yeah, if you were just listening a minute ago and you heard me say I've had better weeks, this is the exact reason why I've had better days and better weeks. Sunday was probably the worst sports day of my entire life. My Jets got killed by 41 points to their biggest rival, the New England Patriots. And just prior to that, my Manchester United got absolutely throttled, got run rings around by Liverpool. You never want to lose to a rival, especially at home, especially by 3 goals or more. And we lost by 5. So that just goes to show you just how bad my day was. Bruno Fernandes, he had a good chance early on, but as soon as he missed that, I knew that it wouldn't be our day. But I didn't expect it to be 5-0. Everything that could go wrong literally did go wrong. I feel like a lot of this, it falls on the players a lot, but I feel like the manager is at fault so much for this as well. Ole Gunnar Solskjær, I mean, you're playing your biggest rival. You didn't even get your team up and ready to play your biggest rival. If you can't get your team up and ready to play against your biggest rival, who can you get your team ready to play against? This is a team that you shouldn't need to be in the dressing room addressing each and every player and motivating them because it's Liverpool. It's your most hated rival. But he still wasn't able to spur them up to get them motivated to play in this game. And for me, it's a complete and utter joke that Ole Gunnar Solskjær is still the manager of Man United. Earlier today, Fabrizio Romano reported that they're going to keep him in charge for Saturday's game against Tottenham. And I just don't get it. I don't get it. Like, what else can he do wrong that can just take away his spot here as Manchester United manager? He got killed by Atalanta in the first half earlier this week. He got absolutely destroyed by Leicester. And I know there was a 4-2 scoreline, but it was not a 4-2 game at all if you watch the game. It's just been an awful, awful year. And then the cherry on top, Antonio Conte is there sitting there right in your face saying, I'll take the Manchester United job if I'm offered. I usually don't do that mid-season, but I will take this job if it's offered to me. I will go ahead. I will come in here in October and I will fix the situation. He's a serial winner. He won the Scudetto with Juventus and Inter Milan. He was also the manager to bring Juventus to that Champions League final against Barcelona, where Barcelona did eventually win 3-1. But still, an incredible manager. He had great things done at Chelsea as well. But Man United is still reluctant to fire Ole and hire him. I'm done with this team.
Oh, no. Now we have 2 people who've left the podcast so far. Gosh. I hope I'm not the next one. He's gone. Okay, so like Ryan left and came back. Jimmy has just left, and he probably left his house. He went to go have like a relaxing drive to get away from everything. Which is probably better off because of what I'm about to say. For those that watch NFL and American football, this is kind of Adam Gase-esque. Oh, he's back. Okay, nice. We thought you lost you there, Jimmy. Well, you're gonna like what I'm gonna say right now. It's kind of Adam Gase-esque, where we have this manager who makes very, very questionable decisions. Some people view him in a very high light, but a lot of Manchester United fans do not. And it's very sad, but it kind of is similar to Adam Gase. The Manchester United fans, Jimmy, and all over Twitter, and that I've been seeing, they want another gaffer. They want another manager. And it's now creating, okay, the general management, right, cannot abide by whatever the fans want, but nevertheless, it's now creating a divide between the fans and the general manager, which in sports, it's not really uncommon for that to happen. They can make a decision and have it be, not what the fans wanted. That actually kind of happens relatively often, I guess you could say. But in this case, I feel like now it's getting to the point where they're really unsettled and they really want him out of there. And it's just not going to be good for the relationship going forward. They will always see diehard Red Devil fans, but even so, like it's still not the most ideal situation you want to be in for such a big club like Manchester United. But in my opinion, he's kind of getting bailed out by his squad also. And then what I mean by that is he's a very talented team. Do not get me wrong. But then we'll see, and not all the blame can be put on the manager, I don't think. But in the recent games, I'm sure, Jimmy, you can name a bunch off the top of your head. He's made some questionable decisions, which is really what gets it for me. And so, yes, he has a talented squad, but if you can look past that, like managerial-wise, it hasn't been the best. And so for me, I think his time is nearly up. A few more games, maybe, and then especially if he loses these next few games, if he comes out and wins 6-0 against whoever they play next, then maybe there's a chance. But if he comes out, he underperforms again, we could see him gone very, very soon.
One thing that I'm not a huge fan of in soccer fans is that they seem to constantly hop on the bandwagon, especially when it comes to a manager and his potential exit. We saw that for years with Arsenal fans saying, Wenger out, and then we win the FA Cup, and they'd all celebrate him. And then 3 months later, Wenger out again. And just a few months ago when Manchester United finished second, I might be wrong, but I think you were singing his praises, Jimmy. I mean, I thought you were a huge fan of the man. I mean, I don't know.
I was a little bit supportive of him, but then again, when you go on and you get Ronaldo, Jadon Sancho, and Rafael Varane in the summertime, and you're getting drubbed by Liverpool 5-0, you're getting outplayed by Atalanta, by Leicester City, Everton, West Ham, all these teams that you're clearly, well, with the exception of Liverpool, that you're clearly better than, and you're just getting tactics completely wrong in every single one of these games. Questions need to be asked of the manager.
I mean, that's fair enough. I don't know if you're clearly better than teams like Leicester or Atalanta. I don't know. I think you're underestimating them a little bit, but
I mean, they should be with the quality in their side. They probably should be.
They should be, but I just don't know that they're that much better than them.
Leicester's in the bottom half of the table right now, so if teams like Brighton can beat them,
they're tied on points with you, dude.
Oh wait, so they're in like 9th place, 8th place.
It's 14 apiece right now.
Well, either way, a week ago they were in the bottom half of the table. They were in 12th place. So if you're not able to beat a 12th place team unless they're near Manchester United, who have ambitions to be in the Champions League quarterfinals pretty much every year, to be in the top 3, top 2 in the Premier League, and to win a silverware piece pretty much every year, every other year. And you've been appointed for 2.5 years, and the closest you've gone to winning the title was admittedly in 2nd place, but you were 20 points off the top of the league. Not much of a Premier League race there.
Fair enough, but do you guys think that managers are critiqued a little bit too harshly? Because at times it doesn't seem like if they get a bunch of new players in, or especially when a new manager comes in, it seems like they're given barely any time to adjust and get the players that they need in their squads.
Yeah, I would agree with that take. I think that does happen a lot in soccer, and you're right. They are very quick because, like you said, all of the memes for Arsenal, like wanting the manager gone, they lasted for a long time, and they still, like you said, had some success towards the later part of his career. But yes, I think in soccer, it's too short of a rope sometimes, and that really it's not the best thing, because if there are cases in which a manager just needs time, and then he will then elevate his team and make his team play better. But it really is a short tenure in soccer. I do agree with you.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that some managers admittedly are pushed away too soon. But in my case, it's been 2.5 years and I've seen growth, but not enough growth for Manchester United's sake, as far as I'm concerned. A team that, like I was saying earlier, they have such big ambitions every single year, but it seems like they fall short over the past 2.5 years with Ole Gunnar Solskjær at the helm.
Fair enough. I mean, they're definitely going through some tough times. these past couple of weeks. But let's move on to a team that hasn't been having any tough times really, and that is Chelsea, the reigning Champions League winners, currently at the top of the table in the Premier League. They just won 7-0 against Norwich, which if you think you have a bad Jimmy, think about being a Norwich fan for a second, because that's got to be rough right there. Why have they been just so dominant lately? Is Thomas Tuchel really that guy?
Yeah, I think that Thomas Tuchel is an absolutely wonderful coach for Chelsea. He's exactly what they needed, and mostly down to his tactics, where he pretty much just dominates everyone. They hold possession really well. They press really well as a unit, just not just one or two players that just press onto the ball, but as a unit, they're able to collectively suffocate everyone as they're trying to play out from the back or in the midfield, turns the ball over, and then they're able to go on and counterattack, leading to goals. And of course, they hold their wits really well with the two wing backs of, no matter who it is, a combination of Marcos Alonso or Chilwell on the left, and then it could be Reece James or Azpilicueta, or sometimes Hudson-Odoi on the right. But that Norwich game was just men against boys out there. Norwich could have had 12, maybe 13 players on that team, and they probably still would have lost to Chelsea this past weekend. It's crazy to see how much of a gap there is between a title challenger in Chelsea, who's all the way up here, against Norwich, who seems like they go up and down every other year here in the Premier League and in the Championship. And hats off to Chelsea for seeing their warning signs from Frank Lampard last season, firing him and hiring a new manager with good tactics, a good proven manager in Thomas Tuchel. And I wonder what club could take notes and potentially fire their manager and get someone else that has some good tactics right about now. I don't know. It beats me, guys. What do you guys think?
I don't know, Jimmy. He stumped me there. But Thomas Tuchel is that guy, pal, 100%. I'm happy to see him succeeding. I wish he was at Dortmund doing all this kind of stuff, but nevertheless, he's doing good, and I'm here for it. I think it's their defense. I think their defense has been playing amazing. They've given up 3 goals in all of their games played. They have a goal difference of plus 20. A plus 20 goal difference through, how many games is it now? Let me see. It was match day, not sure, 7, I think? No. Match day 9. That's a very good sign. If they can continue that, like, I guess on pace, right? If they can continue that for the rest of the season, there's not much other teams are going to be able to do. Last game they ran 3 in the back, and it worked very, very well for them. I mean, Norwich is not much of a test, right? They're probably going to get relegated. Where are they now? They are last in the Premier League with only 2 points. So that is obviously not really a test for Chelsea. But regardless, it's a 7-0 scoreline against another team that's in the Premier League. So that's impressive. Even though it's Norwich, and like Norwich can, they might get relegated this year. 7-0 is impressive. They control possession, like you said, Jimmy, and their defense has just been playing very, very well.
You guys broke it down pretty well right there. Only thing I have to add really is that they're ahead of Liverpool and Man City right now, and they've already played both of those teams so far. They drew to Liverpool earlier in the season with a red card. They were dominated a little bit by Man City in a 1-0 win, but it doesn't matter because they have more points. They've beaten everybody else that they've played, and neither of the other teams have been able to do that so far. It's going to be interesting to see when Chelsea continuously faces some teams on the upper level. I'd say in the top 6, Tottenham, Man U, Arsenal. I'd even throw Leicester or someone like that on that echelon, because not to say that the rest of their schedule has been cupcake wins, but it just hasn't been that upper echelon of the Premier League yet. And yes, I'm throwing Arsenal in there. Okay, you guys can hate on me all you want. I'm happy right now. All right, I'm
add
content.
West Ham. Then add West Ham if you're gonna put in Arsenal.
Fine, West Ham in there too.
Okay.
Everyone's in the upper echelon of the Premier League. Throw Aston Villa in there if you want. I don't care. Arsenal's in the upper echelon.
It's like I got 20 top 5 rappers. That's just how it
is. Hey, we're in the top half. Okay, we're in the top half. No, but they've been very, very good recently. But moving to a team that's also been very good in Liverpool, we're going to talk about the team that just beat your team, Jimmy. We're going to talk about them just a little bit. They're 6-3-0 right now. Okay, they have not lost so far this season, and there was a stretch I think 2 years ago now where they won or they didn't lose for 47 straight games or something like that, but they didn't end up going a full season undefeated. And I'm just wondering, do you guys think that they can do that this year? Can they replicate the Invincibles?
That is going to be very, very challenging to do that. Totally undefeated is a very hard thing to do, but with a home field advantage that we've talked about on this podcast before, I think if there's a team to do it, it is Liverpool. Now, Chelsea's been playing lights out. I mean, they already have a loss, but Chelsea has been playing lights out. So you could argue for the rest of the season, it could be Chelsea. But like we said, with the advantage I mentioned, I believe it was last episode, it's so powerful and it's such like I said, it's an advantage over other teams that Liverpool has at home, which is actually kind of funny because right after I said that, they went out and they tied at Anfield, which is kind of comical. They're like, oh, this team never loses at home. And then they went and they drew. But whatever. Regardless, I told you, Liverpool healthy is scary. And the fact that we're even having this conversation, it means a lot. It means that they're playing well and they have the potential to keep playing well. So although it's hard, I can't definitively say yes because that's just nuts. If they do, I'll be shocked. I think it's hard to not lose a single game. So I'm going to say no. But I'm going to say that their point total at the end of the year is going to be very, very high.
And we're on the same wavelength here, Louie. As much as I don't like Liverpool Football Club as a whole, you can't deny how good their team is, and they have the best manager in the world, in my opinion, in Jurgen Klopp. He sets their side up to win every single game, and more often than not, they come away with the 3 points, no matter who they play against. So I do think that they are going to have some struggles. They might drop a few games this season, but that doesn't take away from how great of a team they are. And not to mention, they do have the best player on the planet right now based upon form. I don't think he's the best player on the planet right now, Mohamed Salah, but I do think that as of right now, there's no one in the world playing better than him at the current moment. He has over 20 goal involvements and he has only played 9 Premier League games right now. That's just utterly absurd. And last season, they did have a subpar year where they lost against Fulham, Everton at Anfield, and they also lost to Brighton, Leicester, Southampton, and who could forget their 7-2 loss to Aston Villa. So they have been, conquered over the past few seasons, and I do think that this team, when they're playing in stride on their day, they could go up against anyone and beat absolutely anybody in the world. However, soccer is a 38-game season. Football is not played on paper. Once again, I'm going to go back to that saying, and I do believe that at some point, it's not played on paper, Louie. It's just, things change every single week. But at this point, I do have to say, Liverpool, they're not going to go undefeated. They're going to end with, I'm going to say, a little bit more points than the Invincibles did, but I don't think they're going to truly go invincible this year.
Well, I'm going to go no just because I don't want them to, and I'm hanging on to whatever I guess we have left here at Arsenal Football Club. No, I mean, like you guys said, Salah's playing amazing so far. 10 goals, 5 assists in 9 Premier League games, 5 goals in 3 Champions League matches. He's just absolutely on fire right now. I still put Lewandowski over him personally, maybe Messi as well. But no, he has just been absolutely crazy to start out the season. And I think that has something to do with just his team being back and really being whole. Last season we've talked about a lot on this podcast how injured they were just the entire season. And now they're finally back and they're showing who they really are, to be quite frank. And they're scary. They're a scary squad. I do not look forward to playing them later in the season. But it's possible, but I'm not seeing it right now. Moving to a team that started off the season very, very well, we're going to talk about Brighton. Brighton and Hove Albion FC. They've cooled down quite a bit since that red-hot start to the season. I mean, they were literally, I think, 3rd in the Premier League at one point. They're still 5th, but a lot of teams have caught up to them. Where do you think that they're going to finish by the end of the season?
I'll start this one off. And Typically, I'm not a believer in Brighton, but they did turn me into a little bit more of a believer in the early parts of this season. I do think that they've hit a little bit of a roadblock, and now that you said that a lot of teams have caught up to them, I don't think that they're going to finish the season as well as they started the season. Right now, I think they're going to finish mid-table, somewhere between the 10 to 12 spot, in my opinion. And they're a good team with a good manager, but I feel like they've hit their ceiling. The top four is better, no matter what way you want to put it. The two Manchester teams, Chelsea and Liverpool, are all better. I don't think you can dispute that. Then I think that West Ham, Leicester, Tottenham, Arsenal, Wolves, and Villa are all better as well. So that's 10 teams right there that I think are better than them as we speak. Wolves and Aston Villa are a little bit questionable. I just think that they're a little bit better, just a teeny bit better. And of course, no particular order, and those teams all being better than Brighton. But they only got 3 points from a potential 12 over the past 4 Premier League games, where they drew against Crystal Palace, Arsenal, and Norwich, and then they also lost to Manchester City. So they've had a good run, and they're always a very, very good story. Of course, they're a small football club, and to be alive in the Premier League for this amount of time, it's always great to watch them. But at this point, I'm afraid it's over, and I think that they're going to end up finishing mid-table despite the really good start to the season.
I have to agree. I also had them at middle of the table, and all the teams you said are definitely going to be over them. I think that it was a little bit fluky. They had a nice run of form, but I think it's over now, and I 100% agree with you, Jimmy. I think that they will be finishing somewhere around like the 12, 13 spot in the Premier League come the end of the season.
I think it's going to be a clean sweep right here. I mean, you didn't even mention Everton, I don't think, or Brentford. And I think both of those teams, I think Everton is definitely better than Brighton. And Brentford definitely could be better than Brighton. I don't really know how to put it because both those teams are kind of overachievers in my eyes right now. I don't think they're going to fall all the way to relegation zone. They're better than that, but they're just not quite good enough to keep up with the pace that they started out this season. Especially they've got a tougher part of their schedule coming up. They're about to play Liverpool next week. I just don't see it. So for that reason, I'm out. But wrapping up the show, we're going to go to Ligue 1 and talk about PSG. They're top of the table right now by quite some margin. I believe they're up 7 points. And obviously, we've got to talk about Lionel Messi, the biggest signing basically in the history of soccer right there. How does he fit into this squad to start out the season?
He's fitting pretty well. I mean, they're not losing games, which is obviously a good thing. Like you said, they are ahead in Ligue 1 by 7 points it is now. Now, it's not the most competitive league, the French league is, but nevertheless, they're not playing poorly. They shouldn't be. If you look at their squad, there's absolutely no excuse. This is exactly how it should be, because otherwise there'd be some problems, right? But if you look back at the recent games, they've beat Leipzig, they beat Angers, and then they lost to Rennes. But that is going to happen occasionally, especially when you're trying to gel and have all the players work together. In the Champions League, though, they beat Manchester City 2-0, and that was the matchup that some people thought could be in the finals. Because obviously you guys are proponents of Manchester City, and that very well could be a preview of the final match that we're going to see. But nevertheless, they've played well, and Messi's been fitting in nicely. And I'm just happy. I want to see how far this team can go. Like, do they? I think on paper they do, right? The football's not played on paper. Does this team have the talent to win the Champions League? I think they're very, very close.
Yeah, I do think that the start to Messi's career at PSG has been all right. I don't think it's been as good as I thought it was going to be, just because he has no goal involvements thus far in Ligue 1, and he's played, 10 games for PSG in Ligue 1 already, and he doesn't yet have a goal involvement there, but he does have 3 goals in the Champions League, including that absolute stunner against Manchester City, which if you have yet to watch it, stop this video right now, actually pause it, open a new tab, and then go to some highlights to that game, because we don't want to lose our view. But anyway, he has been pretty solid, but the one difference between him at Barcelona versus him at PSG is where he's being told to line up. he is being lined up on the wide right wing, isolating himself, kind of being a one-on-one right winger versus where he was at Barcelona, where he was more down the middle, more as like a false nine or a deep lying playmaker sort of deal for Barcelona, where he would come back into the midfield, gather the ball, and then go forward a little bit. And he's also deferring to the midfield and the forwards to do more of the work, which isn't necessarily a bad idea when you have Neymar, Mbappe, Di Maria, Verratti, etc. That's all around you because they're all fantastic players. But when he does that, right now he's just averaging a 7.29 rating according to Who Scored, which isn't bad. But when you're Messi, it's a little bit bad because he usually averages well above an 8. Over the past 2 seasons, he averaged an 8.7 2 years ago and an 8.5 last season per game with Barcelona. So I would like to see him line up a little bit more toward the middle and see him impact the game more, because when you're in the middle, that's where the ball is going to be most, and that's where he's going to have more control of the game. However, so far, lining up on the right-hand side hasn't necessarily been a bad start to life at PSG, but I've expected just a little bit more out of him.
Fair enough. Definitely no goals in 4 matches is not what I was expecting from the GOAT, but I'm sure he'll pick it up. It's a long season, and quite clearly it hasn't really messed with PSG's rhythm at all. So I think that's probably the most important thing that he's worried about. But that will do it for today's episode of PTV FC. Once again, I'm Ryan Johnston, joined by Jimmy Bliss and Louie Pasculli. Thank you for watching. Stay safe and stay tuned for all things soccer all year long.